We never know when it's exactly going to pick up, so I'm just going to be like, we're live, live, live. Welcome back to another amazing edition of the best darn show on the internet, the Sharon Show. We can say that with confidence because when we say something, we know that maybe not everyone agrees with it. So for us and for the people who watch it and tell us that it's the best darn show on the internet, guess what? It
It
is.
is.
And for people who say it's not, they're just in denial because it totally is the best show. So it's fine though. Denial just ain't a river in Egypt, everybody.
Yeah.
Today, oh, go ahead if you're going to
I
say
was just
something.
saying, yeah, true. I was gonna say, QSB and Joe, welcome. Cosmic
Oh, what's up,
Lichens.
guys?
Thanks for
Cosmic
joining
Lycan
us.
Joes.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? How you doing? How you
You were
doing?
you were gonna say something.
Oh, I was just going to share the quote.
This is how we do it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not Friday night.
That's right. It's Thursday evening. Parties here on the Oversharing Show. That's a song that like sometimes I don't do well, sometimes I do it, but I used to do it more often. When I would play that song, if it was like a Saturday, I'm like, it's Saturday night and the party's here at the playwright or whatever wherever we were. People are like, yeah. Speaking of people going, yeah, check out this quote, everybody. This quote is amazing. All right. The
Grit.
shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Each of us carries his or her own, I will say, life, form, and indeterminable form, which cannot be superseded by any other. I'll
That
read that
is
last part again. Each of us carries his or her own life, form, and indeterminable form, which cannot be superseded by any other.
wow. That's
Which,
uh
yeah,
that's a lovely quote.
which
If
means,
shoe fits,
yeah,
wear it.
yeah. If the shoe fits, you're already wearing it. You're just in denial and you think you're not. I like that last part because it's telling you that no other, person, man or woman, can be superseded by another. So if you see a situation where that is going on, at some level, there's a choice being made. The choice might be being made in the shadow, and this is something we Sharon and I talked about earlier because we've been recording episodes for the next few weeks. We're gonna
Be
give you
out of
some
town.
yeah, we're gonna both be out of town at different times. So we're gonna send you guys, or we're gonna still be here in the chat, and you're gonna get some great Dow episodes. So check those out. But we do talk about that a little bit, how the shadow, and this is something we're probably gonna expand on more today. So I guess I could just leave it at that. Um, and that whole shadow thing was Carl Jung's idea anyway. So
There you go.
yep.
And then, I like the point that he makes that, no one, well, he says, no recipe for living suits all cases. Basically, like we've said, there are multiple paths of the mountain, and there's no, what do we say? There is no, what is the solution? What is it, Brandon, that we say?
Oh, there's no like
Collective
yeah,
solution.
collective
Like,
solution.
like it's not a one size fits all, like in that way. It is a one size fits all because you get to choose the side, you get to choose. But it's not like, oh, you must do it this way and this is the only way, you know, despite the people that say, Jesus said, I'm the only way, the truth, and the life. Well, yeah, I think he was speaking esoterically about the Christ consciousness being the way to reach, a higher state of consciousness. And in those kinds of cases, yeah, you want to, that's the point of this life is to do that. So, but it's about you choose your own, what is it called? Choose your own journey or choose your own
Choose your own
adventure.
adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, you choose your own adventure to get there to the higher consciousness. But yes, you want to reach the Christ consciousness. That's the point.
Yes. We do. Well, that's one goal. You don't have to, I guess, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
striving toward it, right? That's what we. What's going on,
Indeed.
Tony?
Yeah. So anyway, I decided today that it is 8-8 and people are talking about the Lion's Gate. And I really honestly don't follow a lot of the stuff about that, but I guess there's some conjunctions and stuff going on in the skies and the heavens. There's some stuff going on. And it's about a lion. So I figured, you know what? Let's pull from the Wildwood Tarot, which I hadn't pulled from in ages. This was my
Yeah.
first deck ever.
Oh yeah,
And
that's right.
yeah, this was my first deck ever. So like this is it feels comfy like when I as I'm, as I'm
Shuffle,
shuffling,
play with it.
shuffle,
Yeah.
shuffle, shuffle. Anyway, so I'm going to pull a card from there.
Cool.
And
And I could, while you're doing that, I'll just tell you there's some symbolism. I'm not really up on this Lionsgate stuff myself either, but I can tell you about lions and the symbolism. And
oh yeah.
lions were always obviously symbols for bravery and courage, but people also have lions on their driveway. You might see her in front of their house. And in ancient times, it was said that lions never slept. They never closed their eyes or they slept with their eyes open. So that's one of the reasons why people use that as a symbol of like, nonstop vigilance.
Okay. And lions are also associated with the sun and with, the color orange or yellow or um brightness. But I am going to tell you which card I got. This is funny because I think, Brandon, this might be when you did a reading for me, one of the first ever times you did a reading for me. I think I got that you pulled this card for me. It is the Nine of Arrows, which is the nine of,
Wands.
is it wands or
Oh,
is it
air. No, I'm sorry. It's swords, right?
swords? Yeah. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Nine of swords.
So I'm going to look it up here.
Because I think they have staffs or something, right?
Yeah, bows,
Bows.
right? I think. What is it? Yeah,
Oh yeah,
bows.
maybe bows. Yeah,
And
bows
the
and
bows are the
wands.
the wands. So
String on it.
the ace of arrows, how many? What is it? Nine, eight, nine. Okay, nine of arrows is called dedication. It says a figure clad in skin robes decorated with patterns of leaves stands in a clearing amid the wildwood. She is holding a bow as though it were an instrument. The black of the bow crafted in her arms and an arrow held against the string as if it were the bow on a fiddle. It does look like that. Around her, repulsed by an invisible shield, are another 8 arrows. Yeah. Like if they missed her because she's got this energy protecting her. Blue Kachina says, that's my card. Welcome, all you newcomers. Trish, Blue. All right.
Oh, hey Trish, what's up?
Meaning, meaning says the spiritual warrior dedicates their arrows of inspiration by playing the bow as an instrument of summoning. The inner oath helps keep one on a balanced footing by dedicating skills to a greater good. And the reading point says to heed the calling to dedicate one's life to any skill, spiritual path, belief system, or philosophy requires sincerity, self discipline, and hard work. It is a sacred summoning that requires time and effort. For those who hear the calling and become spiritual warriors and protectors of the land, responsibility and sacrifice are also required. To deny that the human species has had a negative effect on the planet's climate and atmosphere seems totally redundant. The growing awareness of our individual impact on the ecosystem may take on greater significance in the future. We cannot predict What effect our avarice and rapacious exploitation of the land will eventually produce? But the dedicated defender of the soil must protect the living legacy we leave for our children. To teach by example the value of respecting others' beliefs and philosophies in honoring the land is immensely important. Sometimes a simple daily ritual reminds us of the oath we have taken to conserve and protect the environment. Dedicate yourself to the task of preserving the land and be a part of making a difference. Well, that's the opinion of the writer of this book, and that's good. It's good to be respectful to the land, right? I feel like there's a little hint of like, you know, I don't know, like just a little bit victimy, like everyone's doing this to the land.
Yeah, it's
But
all your fault.
yeah, but that's okay. They're allowed to say that. Um, but what I found interesting was talking about a simple daily ritual because we were talking about that in the chat earlier about because it's the Lion's Gate thing, and somebody asked if anyone had rituals or something like that. So
That's right. And it was it Kirk, I think, who said to watch the Oversharon show? Or no,
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 Kirk
Carmen.
asked the question, I
Yeah, and
think,
then
and
Carmen was like, and I
Carmen's
already had replied. I was like, oh yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Or
Carmen's
I
like
replied
watch
before I read hers.
watch the Oversharon show today, and then you said, yeah, watch the ritual today. It's the weekly ritual of the Oversharon show, dare we say?
Right. And there is one, well, not one thing, but there's something that I like about what the author said in that description was their solution was good because it's about talking
Yes.
to the children and
Mhm.
it's not, they're not
And
telling you to
about
go out
being
there.
an example.
Yeah, be an example and not going out there and trying to like proselytize and like,
Right. Exactly.
be a climate
Yeah.
climate.
Maybe I was being a little judgmental,
No,
but
no,
yeah.
I felt that too. You're right. I'm just focusing on the good
Yeah.
in the card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, it's a
Mhm.
theme that resonates with a lot of people these days, so I could see why they would put that in there too. But I mean, it's like anything else. It's very nuanced, right? It's a fine line between
Yes.
caring for the land and then being a climate change supporter or whatever, right? Like,
Hmm.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too about people with climate change is it comes from a place of love. I feel like there's fear, a lot of fear in there. And like I was telling Elizabeth, I used to be like one of these climate believers years ago, like Al Gore days, like 2001 or whatever the heck it was too. But once I looked into it, I was like, I had to do like 5 minutes of research and realize that it's because all really all you have to do is see what they were saying back then and how wrong they were about, and they just keep moving up the model. Oh, it's going to be like this in 20 years. And then like 20 years later, it's not. So they're like, nope, 20 more years.
Hmm.
So anyway, whatever. Um, so what did we come here to talk about today? Oh yeah. So we had an amazing podcast last week with our good friends Spoons and Joe. And we were talking about letting go. And I also have been going through this whole like I say it and you'll hear it in a couple of weeks when it airs, but it's like I'm having like a epiphany moments where things are falling in line and it's things that I've already known, and I knew intellectually, right? But it's starting to make sense and these patterns are starting to be revealed to me, which is amazing. And really it's all about that you're already perfect. And it's really about realizing that you're perfect. So, I might say, hey, you're already perfect. And you're like, yeah, well, Brandon, I bite my nails and I hate biting my nails. And I just do it unconsciously. I don't even realize I'm doing it. And I get really mad. I look in front of people. It makes me look whatever, and so how can you say I'm perfect if I bite my nails and I don't bite and I don't want to do it? What I would say is when I'm saying that someone's perfect and what it means to me and what it's starting to make sense is not that everything, so your ego, your exoteric self, your ego wants things a certain way, prefers things a certain way. And this is something I heard Alan Watts say recently. He's talking about the tree of life, where everyone says it's the knowledge of good and evil. And he's like, well, I think really more what it said, and due to the translation or whatever, it sounds more like it's the knowledge of having a preference of if you like something or if you don't like something, or if you like when something happens or if you don't like it. So you start to pick your preference. Now, there's obviously nothing wrong with having preferences and like favorite color, favorite food, and wanting things to be a certain way too. That comes, I think, from a place of love, but also from a place of fear and wanting to have control. So what this whole idea is about, and it's like, sure, you might not be living exactly the way that you want to, but the other side of this is the creator, the all, God, the universe source has a plan, allegedly, right? So what if they did have a plan? And what if you picking your nose or biting your nails or having some terrible bad habit was part of that plan, so that you can experience that situation, um until you're sick of it or whatever. And the idea of why you want to look at yourself perfectly is that Sharon and I are coming to this understanding or belief or comprehension, if you will, that if you have a part of you that you don't like and you try to push it down and repress it, and really what you're doing is pushing it into the shadow, kind of like we were saying earlier with Carl Jung. So you're pushing it away and you don't want to experience it. And what seems to happen is it brings up all these different patterns of behavior for people. And a lot of it's negative. They view it as negative.
It's
And
being in denial.
being in denial. Thank you, Sharon. You summed it up perfectly. So what we say is what we mean when we say that you're perfect and you should accept yourself as perfect, is that all that stuff you shove into the shadow, basically we're doing it because we don't think it's part of us or we don't like it. But the truth is, there's black and white, there's dark and light, there's aspects of yourself that you're not gonna like. But when you push them away and you repress them, you're in denial, exactly like Sharon said. But as you start to accept things about yourself, that you are perfect, and you start to let go of these things, I know in my life anyway, a lot of these behaviors, like I say it all the time, I used to bite my nails religiously. Look at them now. They're like,
Same here.
I got to remember to cut them. Like look at, like,
No,
you
I
know,
don't have to remember.
no, I do pretty well. I can usually tell. It's funny. I like to keep my pinkies long, but everyone's like, oh, coke nail or whatever. Like, no, it's not because that. It's just for utility. Like, if I drop something on the ground, I could pick it up easier, or I use it to, like, whatever. I could use it as a flathead screwdriver. but but yeah. Anyway, get back to what we were saying. So that's the view, right? Is you're perfect. So there really is no work to do in that whole worldview and that mindset of you're already perfect. You just have to accept parts of yourself. And I mean, I love that because to me, it makes so much sense, because the reason we do engage in the behaviors that we're not exactly proud of or whatever, I feel like is due to us not accepting those feelings that come up inside us. And if we just say, oh, that is part of who I am this way, I think it'd be we just have a lot less suffering anyway.
Yeah, indeed.
Indeedy.
So I want to share a little bit of a thing with you guys because that episode that we did with Spoons and Joe, um, the whole letting go concept like triggered me. And my reaction, well, just like my whole energy about it and my reaction also triggered Joe. So like we triggered each other. Like it's silly because like our own whatevers about things, right? That the way we think, right? It was like, Joe was saying something and I'm like, no, that's not how it, and like in my head, I'm like, no, but like my way of asking or maybe or whatever my energy about it, um, triggered Joe's whatever's like his trigger, whatever his trigger is. And so we ended up like realizing that there's work to do. There's still work to do because this whole letting go is not like so it's not so simple sometimes. It is in
Theory.
in theory, but in practice, it takes some um humility, and it definitely takes a ton of humility, but it also takes well, I forgot what the word I was going to use, but anyway, definitely takes humility and acknowledgement, right? Of
Yeah, it takes fortitude too, and like
yes,
strength, like inner will. I think that's
yeah,
why Crowley, kept his or ordered his deck the way he did. We'll just say it that way
yes,
because
yes.
that strength is really what it takes to get over that
And
hurdle.
strength has that lion, like subduing the lion.
That's in the lion is like your inner desires. There it is, the lion gate thing. Really, like I feel like that's in the strength card, especially in the regular rider weight where the woman is holding the lion. I can even pull it up while I talk. I feel like that's what it is. It's that inner because it's so uncomfortable sometimes and you just don't want to do it. And it's easier to go into the escapism. This guy that Joe put us onto in his channel. Shout out again to Joe
If
P, who we had on last week. He has Contemplations of Spirit, his channel on Telegram. And he had this video, it was a 28-minute long, I'm sorry, audio. And the guy was talking about letting go and different ways of letting go and all that stuff. And he was talking about escapism specifically. And he said that sorry, it's hard for me to do two things at once. He said that what you can do is when you're getting into your mode of escapism, when you feel it, that's a good time actually to let go. Here it is. Here's the
right,
card
right,
because
as soon as you feel it.
when you start to feel the pull of whatever it is, like to have a drink or to, whatever your form of escapism is, that's when you start to go into that mental thing and you ask yourself, there's certain questions he had that are really cool. I can go over that. We can go over that as part of this too. It's kind of like a method of digging deeper into yourself if you're not really sure about the letting go thing. And oh yeah, that's what I was going to do, the card. So I feel like that's really important.
Oh,
Obviously,
you're looking for the strength card. Yeah.
yeah. So now you look at this right here where the lion is, and she's gently holding the lion, so she has control of it, and you could tell the lion, his tail is between his legs, so he's kind of like tamed. I think other pictures you'll see the woman riding the lion. I feel like that's the Aleister Crowley one. I think she's riding it.
Yeah. If I find it, I will show it. Or you can probably look it up too.
Let's see.
Oh,
Phil-
wow. Oh, no, never mind. I thought I found it.
Hot, not hot. Oh, not thought either. So I'm gonna start getting porn stuff. Great.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
All right. I don't think I can. I think I got it turned off. Doop. Yeah, there she is.
Okay.
The lion. Yeah.
There
So
you
here
go.
she's. Oops. Well, I guess it's not letting me like it bigger. I don't feel like messing around, but you could see here, everybody. She's riding the lion. Same thing. She has the power up here. She has the reins, and she's just laid back, nice and comfortable. Right. If you're riding something you're nervous about, you're not going to just lean back comfortably. So it really is about harnessing your will and pushing it in that direction. That's one way. That's probably like the hard way, right? But
And that's number 11 in the Thoth deck,
number 11, yep. I
swapped
think
with
the
the
easy
8
way
in the
would to
Rider
just
Waite.
be to, like we said, realize you're perfect and then just be perfect. But sometimes for complicated minds, complicated answers sometimes are needed.
Yeah. So just to kind of finish out the story, I was just gonna say Joe
Yeah.
and I figured our stuff out. We talked it through. We realized our triggers, and you know, and it's just a note for ourselves to go work on that, in a matter of speaking, right? Because we also talk about the whole doing, not doing, and recognizing that you're perfect as you are. So it's not like a dig to say like, oh, um, I found this trigger because I did this show with Joe and he triggered me, and to accept it and say, it's okay. I'm, you know, I'm in this body, this lifetime. I'm using this meat suit, and this is what happens in this meat suit. And, I'm gonna go with the flow and notice these things and not be in denial of them, acknowledge them and notice them. And sometimes just by noticing, you can start letting things go more easily than when you go into denial. But hey, sometimes you have to go into denial. Sometimes you have to do it till you're done. And that's okay too. It's all part of the process.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, being easy on yourself because the world is already going to be hard on you. Everyone else, not that everyone's going to be hard on you, but people tend to get this idea. That's why a lot of people are afraid of going on speaking, like public speaking and going on a stage and talking in front of people. They have this fear or whatever. But at the end of the day, really, I used it already. Darn it. At the end of the day,
We're not
everybody.
even at the end of the episode.
At the end of the episode, yes. At the end of the day, it's really, I feel like, so the being easy on yourself thing is so huge because, like I said, people perceive everybody as kind of being hard on them. And when you grew up, maybe there were people, your parents were hard on you, maybe your teachers, whoever, brother, sister was hard on you. And now you've continued that and just been hard on yourself. And I mean, I feel like we are here to make mistakes. We're supposed to make mistakes, and we're never gonna figure out anything unless we try it, right? Or do it. So if we do fail, or if we make a mistake, we can learn from it. And I think that's like the point. So just be easy. Just realize it's a good thing to recognize when you're being hard on yourself about things and try to slow down.
Yeah, I learned about the whole concept of like noticing things when I first started doing yoga years ago. And my teacher, whom I loved, she was awesome, and she probably still is awesome, but um would say that to you like as you're lying there and you're kind of doing like a lying down meditation a little bit after during shavasana or whatever after the whole yoga is done, to just notice, like don't judge it, don't don't try to stop it or whatever. That's part of letting go. A lot of this stuff that uh I feel like some of the stuff that I did without even knowing, I was being taught to let go, and let it be, and it's okay. um this other thing that I didn't mention in the last episode was about going to this chiropractor, and he would do, I think it was called net. I can't remember what it stands for, but it basically is kinesiology to help you let go of emotions and
Uh,
feelings or whatever. And he would like muscle test me, like ask me questions about like uh I think it was like well, he's asking the body, like, is it related to your family life? Is it related to work life? Is it related to love life? Is it, just kind of stuff like that? Is it related to financial stuff? And then the body would answer whatever, like, because whatever was bothering me at the moment. So it would say whatever it was, right? And then it was like, okay, when is the first instance of something like this occurring or whatever, something like that. And then it was like, or at what age did this event happen to bother you or whatever. And so he'd go through ages like 0 through 5, 5 through 6, whatever, 5 through 10, 10, whatever. And he'd go on. And I kept getting this one that was like, and I say kept getting because over months or whatever, I would go see him, and he'd have to work on that for whatever reason multiple times, because sometimes it doesn't go away right away, right? So, um, but he would, once we identified what it was, for me, it was like a maybe maybe abandonment, maybe feeling alone or something like that. Because I, my memories that he asked me to remember like a moment where I experienced that one thing that he had identified, right? So I was like, well, all I can think of is like when I was in first grade and I was sitting on top of the jungle gym and looking out on the other children and I felt very alone and very sad. And coupled with that is a memory of sitting by the door to my classroom waiting for the teacher and feeling alone, like no one was like my friend or something. And it's because I got moved from kindergarten to first grade, like after I was already in kindergarten for a little bit. My sister's older than me. She was almost kind of like a mom to me. She was like, "Oh, she's too smart for kindergarten. Like she already knows her everything, like ABCs and stuff. Like she can be in first grade now." And I mean, I don't know that I had to say, even if I did, I was probably too young to know that that would affect me in a certain way, right? But of course, maybe I don't even remember, but maybe I had people that I already knew in the class and I was like getting comfortable with it and I was cool, but then I was suddenly moved to another class. I didn't know anybody and I felt alone and sad. So anyway, the kinesiology that he did, the chiropractor, kept identifying that every once in a while. And he would ask me to just recall the feeling and feel it, let it be, right? And then he would let that happen. And then he would muscle test me again afterward. And then I would be strong again. I can't remember if he had done something in between, but so over time, I was like letting that go little by little, letting it go. And one day I don't know if this was the ticket or what, but one day after that, he used a cold laser on my neck, the back of my neck. And after that, I never had that experience come back up as like a trigger. And if I go back to those days and the moments of like sitting on a jungle gym looking out, like I don't have that sadness, like I don't feel it anymore. It's just I can see that moment and I can just observe it, but I don't have that sadness or feeling anymore that I used to. So that's just like one example of like what I didn't even realize I was doing is the letting go, um, even back then.
That is it's a really good example of it because I mean I've heard it in different meditations also about feeling your feelings and just letting them hang out and make peace with them and all that stuff. What was I gonna say? But I like oh, that's what it was because going back to the whole thing of oh, you're perfect already, you don't have to worry about it. When you have a feeling that you're trying to repress, basically you're telling yourself that no, I don't want to feel this way. This is wrong. I shouldn't feel this way. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I'm not going to feel this way. And that I feel like it translates up because it's probably just a subconscious thing that we do, right? We just kind of push it away. We don't feel it or we don't want to feel it. But uh where was I going with this? Yeah, so so as you can learn to accept these things, that you don't have to push them away and you just feel them, and it feels like they just want their day in court. Like this feeling just wants to be felt. And I mean, who knows exactly why, right? Feelings and where exactly they come from and thoughts like that. It's kind of one of those mysteries. People can say that they know exactly, but um as we learn to accept them, though, it's the same thing. Like I was saying, to seeing yourself as perfect. So it's so funny the suffering we put ourselves through just because we don't want to admit things about ourselves or feel feelings. You know, it's like we're children in that way. Same thing. It talked about. We're going to be talking about this in a future Dow episode that's coming up because it's talks about like a child from all different angles. You know, and I feel like that's the best way to approach this stuff because you already kind of are acting like a child. Just you're acting like a petulant child, right? Like, no, that's not my feeling. I'm not going to feel it.
Mm-hmm. Instead of acting as a an open-minded child, which is usually the state children, arrive in, maybe they are, maybe they see in others the petulance, right? Who knows? I don't know, but um they are naturally curious and they're naturally open-minded. So that is and they naturally notice things all the time. They're constantly making observations in the world, and like we don't notice them anymore because we're, we've seen them 100 million times, right? And kids are like, oh, look at that. And you're like, that is really a good point, really good question, a really good observation.
It and if you think of when people have that term that they use, the inner child, they say we all have an inner child, and maybe we don't exactly have this inner child thing, but it's again, it's this expression, it's a way to use words. And it, it's funny because we see children and we think that they're this one class of thing, and then we see adults and we think that they're this other class of thing, and it really is. And Michael Tessarian talks about this. It's a form of like not racism, but what's the other one? It's a form of discrimination. He calls it adultism because a lot of adults treat children like they're children, and it doesn't mean like you're supposed to let children drive or whatever like that, but just in the way you talk to them and treat
Yeah,
them, and the way we
mentally.
school them, and you just make them sit still all day and all this stuff, you're really not allowing them to express their inner child or their curiosity and everything that makes a child so wonderful. So as an adult, we found that you can do this and you feel these feelings. Nothing, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to kill you. And if it does kill you, well, I guess that's what was meant to be.
Yeah, you do what most kids do, which is like they're, so and so accidentally slaps them or hits them and they're crying and they're upset and and then they cry it out and then 5 minutes later they're playing again and it just came and went and we could do a lot if we could behave that way in many
Yeah, in every way you said, or did you stop?
ways. Like we
Oh, in
could
many
help
ways.
ourselves, we could help ourselves by taking that approach.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to say too earlier when you were talking about being triggered and then Joe being triggered and stuff, I feel like that just is a byproduct of human communication. And especially when you're talking about belief systems, it's tough because people have experiences and it's real life tangible, like their life changes.
Hmm.
And then they try to express it to you and how it was done. And the words that they use might not mean the same thing in your head.
Hmm.
So it sounds like they're contradicting something that you already hold to be as of value. And that's where the trigger is, because just like we talk about on the show all the time, everybody has a unique perspective and a point of view in a different set of circumstances that they've been through. And then we have these personality types that we've been talking about. And I feel like a lot of this, if you want to call it self healing or just self knowledge, right? Getting to know yourself, it's different probably based on the different personality types. Each personality type probably has a way that might work better for them. And then within those classifications of personality types, you have people who've lived all different lives, rich, poor, grew up all kinds of different ways. It's, had one parent, had two parents, had no parents that were around for them. So it's important to remember that when you're having a conversation like that. And it's okay though. Oh, that's what I was going to say. It's really cool that you guys figured it out and talked about it after, because I see this happen all the time with people online. They get into these little, they get triggered by each other, or whatever, and then it will cause an argument, and then it sparks this division, and then fans on one side are like attacking fans on the other. Uh, and I think you guys handled it in a more childlike way, right? Not in a childish way, but a childlike way of wonder like we would say in modern societies, I would say you handle it like adults, but since we're talking about inner child and all that stuff, because you were curious, you wanted to know what caused him and what caused you overall. You were like, why did I have to feel this way? It's stupid. I love Joe. He's great. And I think it's amazing. And I think breakthroughs like that, and if people could just
I've
not be afraid to look stupid, really is I think is like the
yeah,
we talked about this
might be,
before
yeah.
with Sharon. Like I've talked about this, how I love that ability. Like she just is not a cure. She never is afraid to act stupid. And I'm like the opposite way. I'll sometimes go along and I'm like, I could figure this out as I go. And I'm like, oh yeah. But I'm getting more now like Sharon because I see her so much just going on and asking the things. So
Yeah, I mean, I've lived a life where I was too afraid to ask questions, you know? And there were times in my life when I asked tons of questions, but like, there's that time in college or whatever when you're like, you don't want to be the one asking the quote dumb question because you think everybody else is smarter than you. And pretty much everyone's probably having the same question that you do. And maybe your question is actually kind of a good question. um, because it exposes something that no one else was thinking about or whatever, right? Um, and the teacher will probably have an answer for you. But yeah, I had my moments of like being afraid to ask questions, and it is a work for me to show a little bit of that vulnerability and humility that I don't know everything because sometimes people like will look to me and be like, well, you know so much. And well, I really don't. But
yeah,
yeah,
because with the research and stuff that you've done and I've done too, it would be easy to just fool yourself into thinking you already know, and then you could just be like, oh yeah, whatever. And so yeah, what were you gonna say though?
yeah. I was going to say, I think it's also, again, going back to being authentic too. It's about authenticity. I was going to say something about, so
Authenticity is authentic.
yeah. Um, so the other thing that it could be when you get triggered, right, by someone is um that you're just triggered by an old wound of yours, which is for me is like, don't tell me what to do, don't tell me how to live my life, and don't tell me exactly how I should live my life, right? And so when Joe said something about you know, having to admit to oneself that you like in the back of your mind, you must like it or else you wouldn't be doing it. That pissed me off. I'm like, no, I don't fucking like it. I don't. I don't like it. Okay. I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't want it,
And see, go ahead though.
And go ahead.
I was just gonna say that is so if he had said something like part of you likes the way this behavior makes you feel, or you think, right? You think the way it makes you feel is better, this negative behavior, than actually facing the feeling. So that's why you do it. Maybe something like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the wording of it was what triggered me because it was like, no, you do like it. And I was like, no, I don't like it. So if, if it had been worded differently, it wouldn't have triggered me. But it wasn't him. It was just the fact that I was triggered by an old wound of mine of being told how to live my life. You know what I mean? And how to do something. And it's like, no, I'm doing it my way, and so that's what triggered me. And one of the things that he forgot to mention was when I asked him the question about to give an example, right? Um, he mentioned the elephant with the blind men who are feeling different parts of the elephant and saying, "Oh, it feels like a wall," or "This feels like whatever," right? Everyone has their truth, right? And um that can be true for that person at that moment and what they're feeling, right? And for someone else, they're feeling something completely different. Maybe it's like, oh, it's has a rough feeling to it and it's XYZ. And for me, interestingly enough, I take that whole elephant concept and I think to myself, well, yeah, there are many paths up the mountain, right? And each one of these people has their own experience of what that path is, right? And so they're telling their little story. So I was kind of like, well, what if, you know, liking it is just sometimes or for some people or for some experiences, and it could be, right? um because some people let, like I said, some people let go during a meditation or during a sound healing without any thoughts at all. Like the sound just brings healing to their energetic body, and that that pain or whatever uh wound that they had for all this time, it's suddenly gone, and they didn't have to think about it or do anything. So in that regard, I think it is kind of like the different men feeling the elephants, because um, it could apply to different experiences too, and a different kinds of wounds that you have. And some can be let go that way. Some have to be acknowledged. Some have to be said, no, you know what? I must like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing that really helped me was to finally have an example. And Spoons aided in that because she was talking about in the chat group, she was talking about how some experience helped her. And it made me think of an experience for me. And I was like, oh, I can see that somehow I can say, like, I must like being angry at this person because I'm still so attached to this, like, you know, sibling rivalry about something that happened ages ago, and I'm still stuck, and I still like being angry at this person. So that helped me because I had one example at least of a situation where I could say, you know what, I can see how I could be like, yeah, I must like it.
Well, the I like the point you made with sound healing and exactly what you said, right? That's it's a good realization to have to walk down that path. And I have remind me before we go, I have a couple different questions that were in that thing you could ask yourself to start to let go when you're meditating and stuff. But the whole thing with sound healing is if the point of this is to just feel the feeling and be okay with it and let it go, well, isn't that what music does? Like, what do you do when you break up with your girlfriend? You go listen to sad songs, right? Like, or
Yeah,
whatever, you know, like
melancholy
that's the
songs.
so is it, then if that's the case, could it be? I'll ask the question, like, could it be possible by playing these different instruments? Because I've gone to sound healing events before; they're
Mhm.
amazing, and because you're feeling these and they're like low tones, high tones, different tones, maybe it pulls this emotion out and you sit with it and you're able to sit with it and be okay with it because you like the music so much. So in that way, it draws it out of you now. And then what I'll say about the elephant feeling elephant in the room is like the elephant could just be letting go and everybody
Yes,
has their own
that's
way. And
that's
yeah,
exactly what I was thinking. And I wrote that in the chat in a different chat group. But yeah, I was like, the elephant is the letting go, and each person does it differently.
and you could be you
And
and
each
Joe.
situation is different too. Go ahead.
It's for an example, you and Joe can be doing it the exact same way. You could be doing the same thing internally, but the way you describe it to each other is different. And there could be words involved in there that trigger when you guys or whatever. You know, this could be the case. And the other case, the other thing I was going to say is words and when we have words and like thoughts and we're talking to ourselves, that's more of the ego going on anyway. So like what does it matter exactly what you say to yourself? Or some people might have a different feeling, but I like what he said about admit to yourself that you like it because that is a fast way to realize in that you're okay with it because
Yeah.
by saying that you like it, you're eliminating the victim narrative. Or by saying you don't have to make the exact statement, I guess maybe that you like it,
Right.
or
It is eliminating the victim.
I must like this because I'm choosing to do this instead of feel the feeling. I'm choosing to go out and get
I'm
hammered and
choosing to hold on to it
yeah,
instead of letting it go.
yeah, hold on to it. Right. Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
it's a reverse attachment. It's like still an attachment, but it's not because it's something you, um,
Yeah. And I used that example as like because I said it in the chat, I think. I I said, could you use the word attachment instead of saying that you like it? And Joe said, I tried to do that, but it wasn't powerful enough to help me let it go. Once I admitted that I must like it, that gave me permission to let go. So it's like you said, it's like eliminates the victimness of it. So like now you don't have to hold on.
100%. And even if Joe and you had totally different methods and you thought that each other were crazy, you guys are still
Letting go. So
mature enough to let go of that and be friends because you guys, we all met in real life. We had a great time. We constantly are always hanging out and talking in the chats. Well, you guys probably more than me, but I get in there too. And I mean, I love both you guys. So that's why I wasn't too worried about it myself. And a lot of times in situations like this, I might get in and be like, oh, she meant this, he meant that, guys don't. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, like, everyone's got their shit and these guys don't need me to step in to do that. So it's not because I
yeah.
don't care. But I mean, if it got to the point where I don't think it ever would, but if I was friends, I'll just say if I had two friends like you and then you guys started to like not talk to each other because of something, I would definitely have to weigh in. But
Yeah.
and that's the thing is to admit everyone has triggers. I have triggers, even though I sit here and act like I'm so great. And my hair is so beautiful and my voice is so amazing and I'm so tall and everybody loves me, but I still have triggers. And it's okay though. It's great that I have triggers because if I didn't have triggers, I'd probably be boring. I mean, triggers are what make people interesting. And then on top of that, if you're working on your triggers, it makes for some great entertainment because I know a lot of times I get mad now and I just in the middle of my anger, it just runs away because I laugh at myself. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm triggering myself for no reason. Like, this is stupid. And then
Yeah.
it's just trying to explain to the other person who saw you get mad and then laugh and they're like what, and so the people close to you it's good to communicate and let them know. And
Yeah.
I that's something I told Elizabeth. I think we talked about this or maybe it's going to be on next week's show that we recorded where I told her I'm like sometimes I'm going to act and you're going to see a face on me and I'll look at you like I'm going to get mad and then I might laugh. Don't think I'm going crazy. It's just that you triggered
You
me.
caught yourself.
And then I caught myself and I realized that it's not your fault you triggered me. It's my fault that you hit my trigger. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And Blue says I'm short, fat, bald, and beautiful. Yes, we're all beautiful in our own way.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it doesn't listen. This go around, I get that. And this is the thing, it
This
wasn't
go
always this
around.
way. When I was younger, it was weird because I was almost as tall as I am, but I was like way skinnier. And I just looked like a giant 12-year-old when I joined the Marines. I was like 18, like I was talking about even when I was 20, even when I was like in my early 30s, we would go to Atlantic City a lot during the week. This is when I started DJing.
AC.
We go to AC and channel AC, Alistair Crowley, and I would be in the casinos, and the so many security guards would come up to me every hour or whatever and check my ID, different ones. So they would just start giving me wristbands, so they didn't have to card me anymore. So yeah, I mean, so I had to deal with all that, but now, and even then though I guess I was obviously I was still perfect, but everyone has their awkward phase and everybody has issues with their body and the way that they look. Like I had these like man boob things that they're now that I'm much skinnier because I went well I was skinny when I was young, then I went through a phase where I was heavier, and that was something I was really self-conscious about. I was just like and then what did I do? I just started making fun of it when I started doing comedy, and it went away. I just laughed at it, and now I and the other thing that helped with my body image was because I would date a woman or whatever, and I would be like, why do they find me attractive? And I would ask myself these questions like what's wrong with them? And it wouldn't be like totally a conscious thing, but that's probably what sabotaged all my relationships or why I would like hop from one to another, or a woman to a different woman. is because I didn't accept myself, and I probably thought something was wrong with them because they accepted me, right? And how fucked up is that?
That's
But
pretty
it's
messed up.
perfect. It's perfect because it's what
It's what happened. It's what needed to happen
and what happens
to
to you
wake
as
you up.
a child, and with the way schools are with cliques and being popular and not popular and having friends and not having friends, and like one day something stupid happens, then it's your nickname and people remember it forever. It's a brutal it's a brutal environment. And I feel like, when you this is so side things, if you work somewhere and someone's like, oh, this place is just like high school, everybody here is just like high school. Well, it's like, I think high school is just a cross section of society. Like, this is how society functions, and maybe we learn it in school and in high school and then carry it on after that. But it definitely doesn't have to be the way it is. But if you're somebody who's experiencing this stuff, what I did was I would just look at myself and be like, I am perfect. Like, this is, like, it's kind of, I guess that's kind of weird, but it really just about accepting yourself, and realizing that you are lovable. And if you love somebody else, or you see somebody and you find them super attractive, no matter who it is, they probably have issues with their body, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that everybody, I think, is focused on themselves. It's so funny. Like,
Yeah.
even if, like, even during sex, people are probably more worried about how they look to the other
Versus
person
right,
than the
right.
other person looks. So, and the funny thing is, if they're both doing it, they're not paying attention to each other, so it doesn't even
No,
matter, like.
no.
So what we're saying is, just turn the lights on, guys. If you're gonna have sex, turn the lights on, just get it over with. No, I'm just yeah, I don't, this is
Ah,
the
get
beauty
over
of the overshare
yourself.
stuff.
Goodbye.
Sometimes you overshare and you don't even plan on doing it. Yeah, but and that's the thing, is when you realize that everybody else has this
The
issue,
same
it
thing.
makes it easier. Like, to get on stage and to do comedy, when I was first starting to do that, I would think to myself, like, you know what? All these people out here probably they're fans of comedy, obviously, because they're here to see a show. Most of them, not everybody wants to be a comedian, but most of them probably want to be up here, and they're just jealous that you're up there. And if you don't make them laugh and they boo or they get
Oh,
mad or whatever, it's probably because they're thinking to themselves, I can do this better. Fuck that guy. Because I used to do that when I went to comedy shows before I did comedy, right? Not that I would boo people, but I had that feeling. And then once I started to do it, I expressed myself and I was like, oh, and now I don't care. I don't like judge other people's shit or whatever. But it really is just about, like, if you have to do public speaking or any of that stuff, everybody who's watching you, most of those people are going to wish that they had the skill to go up there and do it, no matter what it was. So, and they're also going to picture themselves in that situation and realize how scared they would be and nervous. So if you mess up or whatever, people are very forgiving. Like, I witness so many toasts at weddings because I TJ weddings. So I see, like, an average of like anywhere from 2 to like 8 toasts in a weekend. And I've never seen a crowd like get mad at anybody, no matter how many times they messed up. Usually, if they're like
they're
choking up or
very,
they can't,
yeah, they're very
people clap
forgiving.
and encourage
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And they're very easy to laugh at. If you have a crowd of people, especially if you know most of them and you're not like a professional comedian, they're gonna want to laugh at you and encourage you. It's a much different thing. So anytime you have to face anything like that, just also remember everybody else feels the same way. Like,
Yeah. Very true.
should we check out the chat?
Yeah, sure. Um,
Give some
I
shout
want,
outs. Go ahead
yeah,
if
do
you're.
some shout outs. I was gonna, after you do that, I want to read a little bit from the Power versus Force book
Yes,
that I'm reading. It's
let's do
very,
it. What's
very,
going on, Blue, Kachina, Joe P, Josh, Trish? What's going on? Good to see you, Josh. Also, I just said that, but it is. You guys are great. Who did I miss? Oh, Quiet Sparky Bear and Joe from earlier, that they were probably listening. I know that
Sky Warning
Giuseppe doesn't
Sky
always like
Dome
to.
also.
What's that?
Warning Sky Dome. He
Oh
said
yeah, I didn't even see. All right, what's up?
up like closer to the top.
No, Dissonant Jones. He must be busy.
Oh, he has a dentist. He said he couldn't make it. He has a dentist appointment.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Shout out to him though if he's watching this at a later day. I'm sure he'll be watching it. What's going on, Kirk? How you doing? Hope your dentist appointment went smoothly and everything is went well. But we all know that if it didn't, we don't need to tell you how to figure it out.
Yeah.
You seem like you get it. So
Don't fear.
yeah, you Kirk gets it. Oh, everybody in this chat pretty much, yeah, everyone gets it. So it's cool. And again, not like we are the gurus and we figured it out and we're like, oh, you guys are awesome because you follow what we say. No, because you would tell us if we were full of shit. That's what I love about everybody in here. If we started like just going off in a left field and talking like maybe either too new agey or too dogmatic or whatever it was, or even too victimy, people in here would call us out. And that's what I love about it. So you guys are
We
amazing.
shouldn't get triggered by that.
Yeah, we shouldn't get triggered. Yeah, they keep us on the straight and narrow. You guys are awesome.
They keep us authentic and honest.
Yes, Trish is going to be fine. Looking forward to her recovery. Yes, Trish, you're going to be great.
Yeah, Blue Kachina earlier said, "Lol, don't check out the chat."
Don't do it. I don't do what you tell me because Blue's like me. He doesn't like to do what he's told.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fuck you. I won't do what you
Do what you
tell
tell
me
me,
until
but
you.
I'll still wear a
Yeah, but I'll still go get a experimental medical serum. Make it. Yeah. Yeah, Raging Against the Machine. That was a hard. What were you gonna do though?
I'll
Once,
still get a coronal mass injection.
yes, coronal mass injection. And the other, I think there was something else I was gonna say about before we got into reading that. Yeah, it's kind of that thing with the difference between the symbolic reality and real reality. And I hit on it a little bit last week. And then I just did a show. I did a live with Joe P and Jeff, and we called it and it's about the anima. The It's the shadow side, the shadow feminine side in men. And we're going to do a follow up too. And Joe had me explain this idea that I've heard through Alan Watts. And quickly, I'll share because I thought of another thing to add to it. But basically, it's like you have the symbolic reality, and you look outside, and everything you see, there's a tree, and you label it. There's a chair. There's a person beating up another person. No, there's a bear, a dog, whatever. And when we're viewing reality, we're constantly narrating it. We're saying things to ourselves. It's like a narration going on. And then real reality is just, it's kind of like opening your eyes and meditating, like letting thoughts go and just accepting things for what they are and not trying to label it and not trying to like give a preference to it. And the analogy I thought of yesterday while I was walking in the woods, what a surprise, was real reality is like walking barefoot. If you're going to go into the woods or wherever in the grass and walk barefoot, there's all kinds of communication that goes on with your feet and the ground that goes to your brain. It tells you all kinds of stuff. And also, all these points on your feet, there's different pressure points for parts in your body. So when you're walking,
Acupressure. Yeah.
you're kind of like massaging yourself. You're working everything out when you're walking barefoot. Now, when you walk with shoes on, it's
How
like that.
dare you?
How dare you wear shoes? What are you, some kind of foot
How
Nazi?
how dare
I got
you declare that we must walk barefoot?
no, so yeah, I know, right? So again, you don't have to do this. I get it. You can't walk barefoot all the time, but now the symbolic reality is like wearing shoes. You still get sensations and you still get feeling, but it's filtered through this piece of leather, this piece of rubber, whatever is under your feet, that is going to translate everything for you through that. And that's kind of like what your ego does when you're walking around. So it's the same thing. So we'll say, just walk barefoot. And that reminds me quick too, walking meditations are huge. Look into some walking meditations if you're not a big meditator, if you like to go hiking. Basically, you're just walking and you're feeling your feet, you feel your breath. And I was hiking alone yesterday, which it's been a while since I've done that. Elizabeth was hanging out with some of her friends, celebrating early her birthday because we're going to be away next week. And
Happy early birthday.
yeah, she's going to love it. We celebrated with her dad the other day too. So she's having a little girls' night with some of her girls. So I dropped her off. It was like at 5:30, whatever, right down the street at a restaurant. So I dropped her off and she just got new brakes installed. So I'm like, let me go for a little ride. And then I pulled into this place where we always drive by, but we never went because there's always a lot of people there. And there was like one car. So I went in there. It was really nice. And I started to do that walking meditation. And it's I don't know. It's just a different experience when you're in the woods and you're not trying to think all the time and talk to somebody else or whatever, you know. But yeah, walking meditation, everybody. But that's my analogy. So the symbolic reality is like walking with shoes, and to experience real reality, just walk barefoot, and then you could see the difference. And then try to apply that to your vision, try to apply that to your hearing. And the analogy here would be, instead of having a shoe on, it's your ego or whatever your thinking self is what's getting in the way.
Or it's like having headphones on because you don't want to hear something that's annoying you or disturbing you. And I mean, I've done that before. And I think to myself, sometimes when I do that, I'm like, I really should try to let go of being annoyed by noises. And like sometimes I envy people who can watch TV or like have the TV on and just random shit on the TV and like still be able to do stuff like read or study or you know what I mean? Like they can concentrate and not let that bother them. I'm like, sometimes I envy that. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's
Not
hard
right
for me.
now. I'm like, I can't do it.
The last time I was in an environment where there's TV playing all the time in the background, it's like when I was living with my parents, 2020. I moved in there for a little bit, couple year, 2 years, whatever. And they would watch a lot of TV and just keep it on. And all I would do is like, because I'd be in the kitchen, and Sharon already knows these stories. I'd be in the kitchen, which is near the living room, so I could hear the TV, and I'd be in there doing something. And you just hear every once in a while me yelling, like, that's full, like, they're full of shit, just because my parents get it too, but I'm just like, what, really? And now I don't even, yeah, I just let it go. But it's funny because it's exactly what you said, right? So I was getting annoyed. I was what's the word, that there's a word you said, and I wanted to bring it into my analogy because um oh, that's what it is. So you're judging things, right? That's what it is. So with this symbolic reality, you're making judgments and observations. So you're like, oh, that tree is a little wonky. Oh, look at that car. It's got some rust spots. That person, one of their eyes is higher than the other one. One of their eyes closes
You're not
more when they,
truly observing.
yeah.
You're judging
You're
your observations.
you're judging, so you're not even really there. You are basically somewhere else watching TV with what's going on. You're not engaging fully. You're not fully present. And that's, I guess, really that's what symbolic reality versus real reality is it, are you fully present, or do you have a filter that you're viewing things through? And that filter again is your preferences, your judgments, all that stuff you're labeling. And I've heard this stuff said many of times, but it's funny when somebody says it one different way. And I probably even heard him say it before because I used to listen to Alan Watts all the time. But sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time and you hear that thing and you're just like, whoa, click. So
Something else I thought about, well, that yoga helped me, like, I guess, comprehend without really knowing it, because I was thinking about the whole concept of letting go, right? And excuse me, when I used to do yoga, the teacher would sometimes have us do yin yoga. So yoga, usually a lot of people do the yang style of yoga, which is the very like it's very there's lots of movements and changes and but yang sorry yin yoga sorry is very um it's very slow and very held, like you hold a position for longer. So if you're doing a position where there's some level of discomfort, you just have to sit with the discomfort. And you often hear about like monks and things like that, people like that who will sit in these uncomfortable positions, like lotus position, which I can't even do lotus, but they sit with their legs in like intertwined, and you think, oh, they must be able to do that because it's easy for them, or maybe it has gotten there, but there was probably a point in time where that was hard for them because it hurt. There was like pain, there was discomfort. And the point of that was to get them to let go. And it was like a one pointedness type of thing, right? So if your body is like this, there's a pain here in my left hip that won't go away. Yeah, you can try to breathe through it, right? But that's like your body maybe only has one kind of thing to think about, and you can like try to let that one thing go while you're doing your meditation, so to speak. um so like, yeah, I think that that discomfort in a yoga position is, it's kind of akin to like sitting with a painful feeling and letting that go. And so I feel like that was teaching me that without even me knowing it.
100%. And like, even if you're trying to breathe through the pain, you're still not accepting it, right? You're like, oh, this pain hurts. I want it to go away. And
Yeah.
well, the way I understand it is like, you're like, okay, when the pain comes, you're like, and you just feel it. And you're like, okay, what are you here to tell me? I accept you, pain. Thank you for your message, pain. Kind of stuff like that. Um, and it reminds me of what that guy was talking about with in the thing that Joe shared, that I was in the methods of letting go, where he was saying all different types of things that we think are helping are actually just forms of resistance.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. Like in yoga, I think our teacher used to just tell us to like let it go, let it be, and let it go, and sit with it and allow it to be. Of course, it's not discomfort to a level of pain that is like intolerable, but it's like a comfortable discomfort, a tolerable discomfort, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think like obviously, or like we were saying, the more you accept it, and that's I've been just trying to do in the past few days. So I'll let you guys know how it goes. But I'm gonna work on that while I'm driving too, because sometimes I get issues like my back or one of my legs, and I'll like
Yeah.
move around because I'm a freaking giant
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah,
Like sitting too long, one of my hips will start to be like, okay.
yep, time to move.
Yeah.
But that would be a good time. Maybe we could talk about it on the show next time it comes up or whatever. Do you want to read that David R. Hawkins thing? Pull it up.
Yeah, I wanted to read some of this. So let me share the screen.
Oh, what's up, Emerson? A
Oh yeah,
cat.
welcome. Welcome. Okay. All right. So I am reading Dr. David R. Hawkins' book Power versus Force. And this is just the preface. It's him talking about when he was young and how he had these experiences that brought him to where he is now, or to where he was at that moment. Um, so I'm gonna read, and Brent, if you want to help me, just let me know. But I want to read through some of this and possibly a bit of the next page. So I will start now. It says, when I first encountered kinesiology, I was instantly amazed by the potential I saw. It was the quote, wormhole, end quote, between two universes, the physical and the mind and spirit, an interface between dimensions. In a world full of sleepers lost from their source, here was a tool to recover that lost connection with a higher reality and demonstrate it for all to see. I proceeded to test every substance, thought, and concept I could think of, and had my students and research assistants do the same. Here's the key part that I wanted to point out. Then I noticed a strange thing. Whereas all subjects went weak from negative stimuli such as fluorescent lights, pesticides, and artificial sweeteners, students of spiritual disciplines who had advanced their level of awareness did not go weak or did not go weak as ordinary people did. Something important and decisive had shifted in the subject's consciousness, apparently, as they realized that they weren't at the mercy of the world, but rather were affected only by what their minds believed. Now, isn't that something that we've talked about many, many times before on the show?
So
And
many times.
when I read this, I was like, okay, validation, not that I need exterior validation, but it was something that my intuition already like knew somehow. I was like, this, it has to be this because not everyone is affected. Like some people are like, oh, when I'm near Wi Fi, I get sick. And there's nothing wrong if that's what happens to you. Um, we're all going through things, right? We all have these little things that are happening, right? But it is to say that this is true. Like once you let go of beliefs that no longer serve you and beliefs that aren't true, you can let that go and those things won't affect you anymore. Could it be? No, not could it be. It is because Dr. Hawkins tested it. Isn't that crazy? We can read some more, but if you have any thoughts, do.
No, I like that because we've been on that message for a long time, I think, and it is good to get validation, like you said, I don't know, but when you're looking for seeking truth, I guess it's good to see other people's experiences lined up with what you believe. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's totally true, and hey, maybe whatever it's not. That's up for everybody to decide for themselves. But there's other examples that I've seen in my life too. You see people that get sick all the time. They constantly have something going on with them and or issues with their body, and it could be. I feel like it is from the mental. It is from the belief system, and we do have so many. Like we were having a discussion about food a little bit in our oversharing chat and eating habits and stuff, and the thing is, the more sometimes it could be dangerous because the toxins and all the terrible, crazy stuff that surrounds us and that we're a part of. And the funny thing is, every once in a while, you hear a story in the mainstream get leaked about how something's dangerous. Oh, this might be dangerous, but no one ever does anything for it. Or like cigarettes, there's like a warning on the side of the package, right? About cancer and all this stuff. And I've said before that I'm like, I think it's the warning. Could it be the warning is what
Yeah,
gives people
yeah.
cancer on the or most of it?
The
I don't
belief of
know.
the warning.
Yeah, in the
Right?
denial inside,
Right.
I shouldn't
Because
be doing this.
I hear about people, I've heard about people who are like, my grandpa smoked a pack a day and lived to be 103, or you know what I mean? And it's like the man must not have believed that it was going to harm him. He was like, this is what I do.
Well, they
This is
used
how,
to tell you it was good for you back in the
yeah,
day,
this
and
is
they
how I
also,
be.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, so he took that and ran with it. And he was like, it is good for me. I'm 103, whatever. I'm just giving an example, but I've heard stories like that. And then you hear stories of people like, oh, he died because he smoked so much and he died of lung cancer and emphysema and who knows what else, right? You hear both.
You do, and the reason I say this about the warning is because it goes along with that thought process that if you are doing something that you're not supposed to do it and you feel anxiety about it or whatever, you're telling your body basically. So if you think cigarettes kill you or if you think whatever you're doing is a harmful behavior that kills you, you're telling your body kind of in a roundabout way that you want to die if you have that thought process because you're like, I shouldn't be doing this, is bad, it's harmful, but I'm still going to do it. So what else is your body gonna, or maybe it's a spiritual aspect to it. I don't, know exactly how it works, but what else in a realm where your thoughts create everything? What else is going to manifest other than you getting sick? And it doesn't, I guess, happen to everybody because maybe not everyone believes it fully for whatever reason, all that stuff, and there's doubts. But
And there's other things that they believe about other things. or that they don't
Exactly.
believe about other things. So,
Or they might have heard something that, oh, if you smoke cigarettes, but like when I was in the Marines, they used to dip a lot. I never
oh,
dipped. I
okay.
did it a few times, but either chewing tobacco or the
Yeah.
dip where you just put a little on your lip.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my friends used to take vitamin C pills all the time because he's like, yeah, vitamin C helps fight cancer or whatever it is. He's like, so his fiance or whatever was sending them to him. So he
Mm,
was eating them. So it's possible that just that thought alone, if he stayed along
yeah.
that track his whole life, then he could have been,
Yeah.
golden. It's the placebo effect, really.
It is. It really is. It's it's all placebo. Unfortunately, I hate to tell y'all. No, I'm just kidding. It's all placebo.
Placebo.
It's all in your mind.
Damn, please.
Psychosomatic, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah,
Psychosomatic.
psychosomatic. Yeah. I'm just looking at the chat a little bit. I dip, yeah, Tony. Yeah, see, I mean, this is the thing about tobacco. It seems that it's been a part of the human existence for a long time. And is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Like, I guess if you're using it to engage in escapism, then it would be a good way to kind of let go and go through and all that stuff. And hey, maybe that's something that I have to do and look at it and see if. So I'm not saying again, I'm not perfect, everybody, but I am. I'm perfect just the way I am.
Yeah.
But I believe there are definitely benefits to tobacco also. And if it makes you feel good, what who's to say that you shouldn't do it? Like, who's to stop you? Like, oh, it's your health, but how do you know?
Yeah.
Maybe if I didn't, if you were Tony, maybe if you didn't go buy a dip and go to the store or whatever and get the dip, you would have been home, or maybe you would have went somewhere else and got hit by a bus. You know what I mean? Like, so don't be hard on yourself. Yeah,
He
Tony's
isn't. He
super
loves
smart.
dips.
And Tony says maybe it's why I'm so smart. And Blue said Tony's definitely smart. Yeah, I mean it could be. You definitely are. You might be picking on yourself, but don't pick on yourself. Yeah, the chemicals they put in tobacco are bad. Yeah, in the cigarettes. But
You know what's hilarious? I read chemtrails.
they're putting chemtrails in cigarettes and turning frogs gay.
Oh my God.
It's the chemtrails in the cigarettes.
Mm, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's really and this is the thing, because if you accept that it's okay that you dip, then you see yourself as more perfect. And then you're okay. And then if you want, you could say next time I get the urge to smoke and I'm not on a podcast, maybe I'll sit with it and try to see where it goes. And if there's a feeling behind it, and try to let it go and keep doing that. Maybe I'll stop, or maybe I'll keep doing, who knows? But I think it's the whole, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I got to quit, and trying to hide
Yes.
things and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's really what, yeah.
Yeah. And here I'm just thinking about it like, the way I try to think about things. It's like, okay, well, you're not harming anyone. And someone might say, but you're harming yourself. But the thing is, if you believe that you're not, then you're not, because you truly believe that you're doing the absolute best for yourself. And, smoking is a pastime, like eating is a pastime. It's a
Yeah.
way to hang out with friends and hang out and just, yeah, it's a habit, but are you hurting anybody? Really? No, I don't think you are. You know what I mean? Like ask yourself though, like that's it, go back to you asking yourself these questions, but um it really into it, but it's also belief. It's what you believe about it. So if you're doing it, but you're afraid that you're going to die one day because you're doing it, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I must say.
100%. And even if it is harming you in the short term, you don't know how much harm you could do to yourself by denying the feeling that you have, right? So, say if I wanted to smoke, so okay, so say if somebody smokes cigarettes, it's because, or whatever it is, a escapism, because of a feeling that they don't like. It's a repressed feeling, and then so now if they have this escapism they want to engage in, and they repress that, it's like doubling down. You're just stuffing it down even more, because it's kind of like anger. So people say it's good to express your anger, which is, yeah, I'm not going to say it's bad. It's good to express your anger, but there's another way to do it where you start to not look at yourself as a victim. And then you're like, oh, I don't like, and like I said, you just start to laugh. So it just transmute, and then you don't even, it transmutes. So you don't have to express it. But is suppressing it better than expressing it? Like there's different stages to it. It's all, you do what you can when you can. I think it would be better to express it than bottle it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would think too.
But
Um,
ultimately, we would be better to see that you're not a victim and the anger might just disappear, or to let go of the feelings that are causing it and all that stuff. But again,
yeah.
it's like it, because this is the thing. It's not
But
like you're,
even sometimes maybe part of letting go is allowing it. Like as long as you're not again hurting somebody, right? Or like yelling at someone's face because that is not fun either. But
yeah, like if
if
you get
you can,
angry, be
yeah.
happy about it instead of being upset with yourself. Like if you get
Yeah.
mad and express it instead of being like, fuck, just be like, yeah.
And then you'll probably laugh after that
That's what I'm saying. Like,
because you'll be happy that you're angry.
it's fun being silly. You're really going to confuse people and they're not going to have any idea what the hell's going on, but it's great. This is
Oh
probably why
man.
some people in the past got put into mental institutions. They're probably around the wrong people. And they started to have these realizations and started laughing at the wrong times. And people are like, wait a minute.
Should I
So,
keep reading?
yeah,
Do you want to read or should
sure.
we?
Bring it up. Bring it
Okay.
up.
Blaze it up. Just kidding.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't know where my lighter went. All right. So show me with the mouse where we were.
Oh, okay, right here. Perhaps the very
Okay.
process. Oops.
Perhaps the very process of
Ah,
progress toward enlightenment could be shown to increase man's ability to resist the mutability of existence. I was more and more powerfully struck by the capacity to change things in the world by merely envisioning them. I saw how love changed the world each time I replaced unlove.
it replaced.
Huh? Okay.
Every time it replaced unlove.
Oh, every time it replaced unlove. The entire scheme of civilization could be profoundly altered by focusing this power of love at a very specific point. Whenever this happened, history branched out to new roads. It now appeared that these critical insights could not only be communicated with the world, but could also be visibly and irrefutably demonstrated. It seemed that the great tragedy of human life had always been that the psyche is so easily deceived. Discord and strife have been the inevitable consequence of mankind's inability to distinguish the false from the true. Oh, I love that. Wow. It's the self-deception.
Mm.
But here was an answer to this fundamental dilemma, a way to recontextualize the nature of consciousness itself and make it applicable and make explicable that which otherwise could only be inferred. Oh, like explicit. Okay. Um, a journey of the spirit. It was time to leave my life in New York, where I had an apartment on Fifth Ave, an estate on Long Island. After all, I had discovered something more important. That's the thing too. It's materialists won't understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't, like, money doesn't matter to me anymore. They're like, what?
Hmm.
Huh? Oh, like that cat. Oh, I left that world and everything in it and took up a reclusive life in a small town where the next
Allegedly Sedona. Just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, Sedona, where the next 7 years of my life were spent in meditation and study before I could make my ideas concrete. I needed to perfect this state of consciousness as an instrument, but overpowering states of bliss would return unsought. And even eventually, I realized that I had to teach myself to be in the divine presence and still function in society.
Hello. That's what we
I,
talk about all the time. Keep going.
yeah, and that's the thing with TV. Exactly, like I stopped watching TV for a long time. Once in a while, I would, but now I'm back to watching shows like on either, like we were watching Dexter. Now we're watching Lost. But I heard it has a weird ending or something. But it's a good one. I like when people say they have a weird ending because I'm like, oh, good, something for me to try to figure out now. But I'm getting all this stuff out of it too. It's really crazy, and it's not like I went and sought it out. It was something that I just kind of let happen because Elizabeth is more into watching TV and some shows sometimes. So I was like, who am I to just deprive it? Let me give it a shot. So we started off by watching a few different movies and then some shows, and I'm getting a lot out of it. Like we watched Dexter, really good, Breaking Bad, all these classic shows. And yes, there is a lot of programming in there. And yes, there is a lot of bullshit. But what I found most of the time is the reason I was having issues with, I hit the chimes again. The reason I was having issues with these TV shows is because I had this idea in my mind of how I wanted things to go and who I thought the good guy was. And I wanted to empathize, kind of not exactly empathize, but I wanted to identify with the good guy or whatever and be that person. But now when I'm watching shows, I realize more that it lines up more with life. Some of the shows like Dexter, for example, you could see the human behavior in the good guy, or I don't know if he's a really good guy, but the
You can
way
learn to
things,
see multiple angles and multiple sides. You could see both sides.
yes, and the flaws too. You can see the character flaws and why they're manifesting the things that they do. So of course, this is just my experience or whatever, but this is the thing. Why is TV good or is TV bad? Like, is this good or is this bad? Who knows? It's just a thing that exists. But if you think it's bad right now and you don't want to watch it, I'm not telling you to watch it.
Yeah,
Don't watch
don't.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because
don't do anything that you think is bad, basically.
yeah, and
But if you're doing something and you think it's bad, maybe stop thinking it's bad or
yeah,
stop doing it.
just say to myself, I like this. There must be a reason why I'm doing this, and I'm doing my best right now. Little
Yeah.
voice in my head, get off my back. No,
Yeah. It is, it makes me think of like um when you're a kid or whatever and your parents are like, don't do that. And then you're like, oh, really? I will do it now. I'll do it more. And you're only doing it maybe to oppose them, but so then you're like, well, why am I doing this? Am I really doing it because I want to or I like it? Or am I doing it to oppose my parents or to piss them off or to piss someone else off? Like you have to ask yourself and admit to yourself what it is behind that.
I know all about being a contrarian because I just thought of that while you're talking about smoking while we were talking about it earlier, but I you were talking and I forgot to say it again. But maybe that's why I started smoking tobacco because I never smoked tobacco. Like I could count on my hand, like right, how many times I smoked tobacco between the ages of like 0 to 40 something. And now that because it really to be a smoker right now, it's one of the most discriminated against classes of people or whatever you want to say. Like again, I'm not looking at it as a victim, but it's crazy. People look at you like you're a murderer if you're smoking sometimes. It's so funny. And so maybe that's why I also was part of the appeal to me because it's like now that it's bad and no one wants to do it, it's like, all right, then there must be a reason it's good or whatever. Or I'm just drawn to it because I'm a contrarian. So
That's funny.
yeah, it's
That's funny.
but that's exactly what happens as a child. You see, sometimes you find out Santa Claus isn't real. You find out to some aspect that your parents are full of shit about something. So then you're like, well, if they were lying to me about this, what else were they lying about? So then and that happens to
You
teenagers too.
extrapolate.
They start to not listen to their parents and stuff because of that. I feel like,
Could be.
and I think it's good to be rebellious and ask questions. So that's, you know,
Yeah. Well, just on a side note, I watched something the other day. I don't remember even how I found or came across it, but this guy was saying your children, like when they're young and stuff, they'll cling to you, ask you questions. They'll be like thinking that you're the best source of all the information, and they'll have this bond with you. But like once they are past 13-ish, between 13 and like 24, there's this like kind of like rebellion that's kind of sets in. And he said it was like a tribal thing because like our our ancestry or our roots as beings, as human beings or whatever we're supposed to be, um
So true. What the fuck? Whatever the fuck we are, like,
Whatever we are,
I'm
these
done with
3D
labels.
these 3D
As
meat suits that
this,
we are.
you know,
Um,
as this, I'm just gonna point to
yeah.
myself.
As the 3D meat suits that we are, there's like this unconscious or subconscious thing going on where we want to leave home and separate from our family because of and go to maybe another tribe to procreate because we don't, you don't want to do inbreeding and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a natural thing that happens. And so um it, it just what you said reminded me of that. He was recommending like surround yourself with people who have similar, you know, kind of like views as you, and so because they will ask others and they will take other people's thoughts, and yours they'll reject even if you're saying the same thing as your friends, and they ask your friends or your siblings or whatever, like, so surround yourself with people who are going to have similar
Values, right? So
values. That's the word I was looking for, as you. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. It's a really good. And that's kind of what sparked me to say that. So it's funny you brought that up because I remember hearing it, but I wasn't sure exactly where I heard it. But I know, my experience that I remember that being in those ages, like preteen, teenager, and I would talk to a lot of adults. I mean, that's when we were in that born again Christian church,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go to like Bible study and be talking with adults about stuff like that. And it is that it goes back to that child adultism thing where you're treating children like children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I completed that thought, but it's more about treating a child like he's a person, just a smaller regular person, fully conscious just like you.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
obviously there's things you don't get
Yeah.
into with children. We don't have to talk about that, but you could still treat them as they're just like they're an adult and talk to them that way. And I've gotten so much better response from children when I've done that. So
Yeah.
I know what you.
Absolutely. um but do you want, shall we keep reading?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'll start down here. I had lost track of what was happening in the world at large. Haven't we all done that? I
Eh,
mean, I know I have.
I still
Now,
have.
here's the funny thing. Let me just pause because I need to say something.
Pause for
So,
pause.
I think it was it the last episode? I don't know if it's an episode that we haven't done yet or if it's an episode I already did. I can't
We're
even
in that,
remember.
yeah, we were recorded two or three other episodes, right? Three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think 3 already.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it may have been in the Let Go, but maybe it wasn't the first one that we did with Joan Spoons. But this concept of like I don't want to know what's going on in the world right now because I the whole like it's not my problem if it's not in my face type of thing, right? And that's me. That's my perspective. I'm not pushing that on anybody. Um but when I read this, I realized that that may just be a phase for me too. Like, yeah, I mean, I do watch TV and shows and stuff like that, like Brandon does, but like I don't really care to know about the news. And I guess I've done that for many, many, many years. I mean, even in my maybe my I want to say maybe after 7-Eleven. Just kidding. Around that time is probably when I started losing interest in stuff like that. And
That's when I started watching the news. That's hilarious.
well, I guess it wasn't like immediately, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I
It
just
was
meant
like
that's when I became like,
sometime, yeah, sometime after that is when I started to see the whole like, articles like, oh, coffee's great for you. Here are 10 reasons why. And then like, and another article would be like, some days later, somebody would be like, oh, coffee's the worst thing for you. Here are 10 reasons why. And you're like, so what is it? pick freaking one. Like, you people don't freaking know what you're talking about. So in many ways, like I lost total interest in that. But I can see how, yeah, like if your preference is to look into it, look into it. Like, um, I'm not judging you, even though I might have in the past, but I personally don't like to do it. I just I don't see the need for it at this time. Maybe one day I'll change my mind, but
Yeah, that's the thing because I would have told you I probably would have been like, I'm never gonna watch TV again. Like, and I watched
yeah,
Breaking Bad again, and I was like, that show was so terrible, I'll never watch it again. And I was wrong. That's the thing. You got it in.
you have to view it with different eyes
It's
too,
like a
different perspective,
purity
right?
thing. People start getting into like purity contests and like, oh, I,
Yeah, like
this
I'm
and
better than you because I don't watch any TV.
yeah, or it even makes them feel good because they don't watch TV and they're not part of that mainstream. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good to not be part of the mainstream, right? Like, but they're again, be easy on yourself. You're already perfect. It's fine, whatever you do. Like, and if you want to do it less, just start accepting yourself as perfect and start being okay with all the crazy stuff that you do that nobody knows when the lights are off or like when you're in a room by yourself or whatever. Like, um, I think that's the key, right? Being okay with it, not suppressing it, because then it's going to come out somewhere else even worse. And I know
Yeah,
because I have friends that are heroin addicts and stuff like that. And a lot of them had very strict parents growing up, it's
so did I.
but she's not a
But
heroin addict, everybody. Not yet. There's still time. No, I'm just kidding.
I will share this
That's
between us.
crazy. Everyone started quitting heroin. So I was like, I gotta start doing it. No, I don't even think you can get heroin anywhere. It's all fentanyl from what I understand anyway. So
Yeah, but can you vape it?
can you vape cocaine? High on that train, vaping cocaine.
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna keep reading a little bit here. So he says, in order to do research and writing, it was necessary to stop all spiritual practice and focus on the world of form. I started reading the paper and watching TV to catch up on the world events, who was who, and the nature of the current social dialogue. I didn't know who was running for office or who Princess Di was, but I found it a pleasure to become reacquainted with the news of the day. Exceptional subjective experience of truth, the providence of the mystic, who affects all mankind by sending forth energy of his level into the collective consciousness, simply are not understandable to the majority of human beings, and therefore are of limited meaning except to other spiritual seekers. I sought now to be ordinary because just being ordinary in and of itself is an expression of divinity. Ain't that the truth? The truth of one's real self can be discovered through the pathway of everyday life. And that is a fact right there.
So true. There's nowhere to go, no guru to hire. Unless you want to hire me, I'm available for $1 million. And I guarantee that you will be enlightened for 1 million. It's not the enlightenment you think, though.
Yeah.
No.
The commonplace and God are not distinct. To live with care and kindness is all that is necessary. The test reveals itself in due time. And so, after a long circular journey of the spirit, I return to the most important work, which is to bring the presence that has moved my life perhaps at least a little closer to the grasp of as many of my fellow beings as I can reach. And I think that's all I will read for now. But
That's huge because
that's
what do we,
profound.
like for me, especially because I just want to be a hermit a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do like to go talk in front of people, but it's a lot of people in this, they don't want to deal with normies or they don't want to deal with anyone that doesn't have their exact worldview or one
And
really
that's
close
where
to
they're
it.
at. I say that because, I've been there
Yeah.
and maybe I'm still there for a little bit.
Yeah. We're probably still there. Exactly. We're talking to ourselves, everybody. Brandon, what is wrong with you? No, you are
We're
perfect.
preaching to ourselves.
Yes, we're preaching to the oversharing choir. But yeah, good stuff. Oh, so that's what I was saying. You go out and share this consciousness. Like if you elevate your consciousness, you're out there, you're not trying to tell people. what to do or how you got there. I mean, he kind of was given a roadmap. That's a little different, but you don't have to be around people and tell them exactly how to do or how to be. Just be that around them and accept them. When's the last time somebody was with another person, just hanging out even or met them that accepted them fully?
Yeah.
What kind of profound impact could that have on somebody? We talked about this, I think, in the Dow episodes that we've done, one of the three that we recorded already. It's like, if you just accept, like if somebody just accepted little Charlie Manson, little
No.
Charlie Manson, if they just were like, Charlie, listen, I know you want to kill people or I know you want to talk other people into killing people or whatever the heck he did. And it's okay. Just live in that feeling. Maybe you never know. So yeah, be out there. And again, it just like I love it. The mundane is God, like all the boring stuff. Everything that's going out there is part of God. The people that are, that were covering their smiling faces and lining up for the coronal mass
Coronal mass.
injection, they're all part of God too. Like I've done dumb things that were dumber than that. Like I was a pincushion when I was in the Marines, like it was part of God that
I
was,
was a pincushion when I was a kid until
yeah.
probably until college, maybe.
And I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was helping people.
Yeah.
I thought I was saving, I thought I was saving people.
I thought I was saving myself while you playing.
I have this funny habit where I try to, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'll go to roll a few of these tobacco things and like say I'm like I want to sit down, I'm like, all right, let me roll like 3 or 4 for the day or next day or whatever. And I'll roll one and then I just immediately light it. I'm like, damn, I didn't need to do that. See, it's an unconscious thing that I just do. What's wrong with me? No. I'm perfect. Nothing's wrong with me. And that's why we are so awesome, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's check out what's going on in the chat. Speaking of awesome people. Whoa, it's going crazy over there. All right. Oh,
We
Sarah
got
G, what's up?
13 people in the chat.
MS. Oh, what's going on? Dissident Jones, you made it. We were talking about you earlier. If
You
you missed
made
it,
it.
talked about how awesome you are. Yeah, I was thinking that the other day, like the people in our chat and the people that are hang out in this chat. I was like, I don't, because I interact in our oversharing group, but I'm always not like obviously the most interactive person. But I just want people to know that are in there that watch this show that I totally appreciate all you guys. And I think you guys are awesome. Like I brag about you guys all the time. I got a little like whenever I do a wedding meeting and I'm talking, because it's on Zoom. So if I start getting on a roll with things and talking, I'm like, I just feel like I'm podcasting. I always say that and I talk about my podcast. A lot of times I'll say like, we don't have a giant audience. I'm like, but our audience is like
Gems.
awesome. So, shout out to you guys.
Gemstones. Yeah. The righteous gemstones. I'm just kidding. I never did. Was that it? I never saw it, but
Yeah, if you guys are gonna want to watch a comedy, what's his name? Danny McBride is the main guy in that. He's the dad or whatever, and he was in Eastbound and Down and a few other shows. He is hilarious. So,
it's a show about a cult leader, right?
it's a show.
Is
It's a
it?
show about, well, you could say cult leader, but it's like a cult, but it's a Christian. It's he's like a John Goodman's in it, which I love
I
John
heard
Goodman
about
too.
that too. Yeah.
He's the dad who started it, but he was a preacher and he started this huge empire, So think of like a Joel Olstein or somebody. So basically follows their family around. And it's a comedy.
Is it a show or a
Yeah, it's a
movie?
show, yeah.
Oh, it's a show. Yeah, I think you and maybe even Cody has mentioned that show before.
Yeah, and
That's the
sarcastic.
only reason I said it, and I have kind of an idea of what it is, but I've never seen it.
I know that sarcastic and Speedy have seen it too. We've talked about
Oh, okay. Meow in the chat says you can't preach to the oversharing choir. You can only harmonize with it.
it. Yeah, exactly. Write that down.
Oh,
So true.
so
What a great show we have. And it's funny because before and it's what we should kind of um acknowledge our 3-year anniversary because we'll probably might be,
yes. Yeah. So August 20th, right?
yeah, I think so. to go look.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so we're right at around the 3 year mark, everybody. So thank you
Yeah.
guys for being a part of this. It's hilarious how our subscriber
It's
count goes up and down. It's
ridiculous.
at 815 now. It was like up in the
Oh my
830s. It
gosh.
stayed at 818, but again,
And then it
it's
was
funny
like
because I get used.
8:22 for a long time, and now it's
Yeah, 820,
8:13.
815.
Oh, 8:15.
Well, it was last time I checked, but yeah, and actually, I think though that's our kind of our secret weapon because we remain under the radar, and
Yeah,
it's not
I
like this is
concur.
our we're not looking to make a job out of this. I mean, listen, it would be great if we went mainstream and all this stuff and whatever, and we're able to support ourselves. But we this is like our therapy, we say so. You know, who
Yeah, and
knows?
then when the thing that you love becomes a job, maybe it's not so fun anymore.
Yeah, and the other thing too is so many people in history were laughed at or mocked or ignored in their time, and then later on people got onto it. So I feel like the oversharing show is one of those things like like people in the future are probably watching this episode now. Shout out to the future, man. I'm not even here anymore. I passed on.
I just watched Cody and I just watched, well, he's seen it before. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure
Exactly.
yesterday.
Exactly. Like when they hide, love how they hide stuff for them. Like remember later to go on something, then it's there. Yes. I think they're poking fun of time travel now that I think about it, or the concept of time travel by making that little thing where you can just hide things, because then if that was the case, then none of the stuff that they went through was an issue because they could just be like, oh, we'll just go back in time later and fix this, like
Yeah.
anyway. But yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah,
Or
it
I
was
don't. It's been a
funny.
while, but it was just a funny one.
It kind of reminded me of Wayne's World too, which I had never seen and only watched like maybe some weeks ago. They're very similar. Like they're two dudes in a band.
Yeah,
They say they say Bill and Ted say be excellent to each other or one another or something like that.
and
And
party on, and
party
be
on.
excellent.
Yeah. And then Wayne's World says party on Wayne,
Party
party
on.
on Garth.
Thanks.
And then um they also say something about excellent, don't they?
Be yeah, BX.
They're
Oh,
like excellent
yeah,
party time,
excellent
right?
party time. Yeah. Oh yeah. Huh.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, which one came out first?
Oh, I looked
Bill
it
and
up
Ted's probably right.
yesterday. Bill and Ted came out first in 89 and then 92 Wayne's World came out.
That was the movie, right? Wayne's World movie.
Oh,
Because
Wayne's
they
World, the
did it on
movie,
Saturday
because they
Night
were on
Live.
Saturday Night Live for how
It was
many
a
years? See,
skit.
I don't know when that started.
But
Good
stuff like that,
question.
it's all overlap. It could have even been
Yeah,
later,
that's
But
funny. Good call. I
yeah, I
forgot
like
about
Mike
that
Myers.
portion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
he's
Myers Jr.
funny. He's
He's
so
Austin
ridiculous.
Powers.
And Dana Carvey.
Yeah,
Spoons
Dana
was telling
Carvey.
me she used to love Dana Carvey.
Oh, me too. Yeah, the church lady. Oh my god,
Yes, the
but isn't
church.
that special?
Well, in that special.
Little look. Oh man, yeah, Dana
Oh
Carvey. And
man.
the best part was like I saw something with Dana Carvey, and somebody mistaken for the Joe Dirt guy. What's his name? I don't
Oh
remember.
yes, I did. I would
Who's the guy who
sometimes
does
do
Joe
that.
Dirt
David
goes on
Spade.
Saturday Night Live? Yeah, David Spade. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would sometimes mix Dana Carvey and David Spade up too. That's so funny.
Yeah, and Dana Carvey used to do amazing George Bush Senior impersonation. Oh my impersonations.
He did Ross Perot too, didn't
Yeah,
he?
he did. That's
That's
right.
the one I remember the most.
Yeah, Ross Perot. Wow,
What did
what a
he
psyop, right?
say?
Or who knows? Well, he claims he backed out of the race a bunch of death threats and all this stuff. So who knows? Let's get our truther caps on,
Mm.
everybody. No. Well, I think we could get out of here, right? It's 5 o'clock here now almost, and I got some
Oh
stuff to do,
yeah.
and we
I
did a
think
full episode.
we're at the almost at the 2 hour mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, great time today.
Blue wrote it
Great,
down. He's so funny.
great.
Uh,
Blue says I do Ross Perot.
nice. You do. I
Yeah.
if he's like, you got a little lockbox, you got a box, and you got to put it in the lockbox. Like he was like, little.
Oh man.
Glad to be
Thanks,
here. Yes.
Blue.
Shout out to the chat again. Thank you guys
Absolutely.
so much for hanging out. We tell you guys all the time. You guys are the
All
best.
11 of you.
We were up to
That's
13 at one point, I
that's
thought.
one of my numbers, 11.
More laws, more problems.com is the website, everybody. Go to more laws, more problems. Just go there right now. Type it in your browser. Check it out. Click on the Oversharing tab.
Especially all you future people in the
Yeah,
future.
people in the future.
I'm just kidding.
We will keep it going forever. More laws, more problems.com. And it's funny because I got that website mainly
10
because I was
years ago.
upset
More than
about what
10
was
years.
going on in Connecticut with the laws of the Second Amendment laws and all this stuff. And then I got into like anarcho capitalism and anarchy and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, this fits so well.
Yeah.
Now I'm into spirituality. Same thing.
Exactly.
Because we talk, and you'll guys will hear it in a few weeks, but we talk about law a little bit at the end of one of the Dow episodes and how law is a written set of things, and you don't even need a law. The law is written in your heart. Could it be?
Like Romans, I think Romans 2:15 or something says something about like people know it. And it's deep in their heart. It's deep in their hearts. They know it.
That's right. But if, but if, but if their actions are annoying you, just remember, forgive them, Father, for
For
they
they
know
know not
not
what
what
they
they
do.
do, or
And
Mother.
remember, we're preaching to the choir. Just
That's
kidding.
right.
Ourselves.
Harmonizing. Thank
We're preaching
Goddess.
to ourselves and harmonizing with the choir.
Thank Goddess. That's what Liz, shout out to
Thank
Kathleen if she's
goddess.
watching this. Elizabeth's friend, she stopped by after they went out to hang out with the cats yesterday, and that's what she said. Something she's like, "Thank Goddess," and I was like, oh, "I love that."
That's
Like,
hilarious. Thank goddess.
yeah, she's watched a few of our shows and she resonates and loves it. So
Aw, that's
shout out
sweet.
to her. Yeah,
Amberson says time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the
into the future.
future.
Do,
Ba
do,
ba
do,
da
bum,
ba
bum,
ba ba da bum.
bum, ba-dum,
Ba 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 da bum.
ba-da-ba-dum, bum.
That's a good song.
Well, I think that's it, everybody. So you guys know the website, you know where to go. Check out my blog that's on there, guys. You'd be surprised at the stuff that I used to write. And maybe there'll be a blog. Maybe I'll write one on on vacation. I hate to just talk about it and then I don't follow through, but I have been feeling the itch to write on the blog lately. So maybe it'll come through because I'm interested to see what it's gonna to turn into. So best gosh darned believe it. Yes. All right, everybody. I'm gonna ask Sharon the question, the famous question. Uh, what's the question again? Uh, so what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start over Sharon,
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
that's right.
And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
We're just preaching to ourselves.
That's right. We're just preaching to the oversharing choir. So come join the choir and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week, everybody. Take care. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. See you soon
Come
in the
join the
future.
choir. I love
Join
that.
the choir. Exactly. Later. All right.